What happens when a beloved celebrity chef sits down for what should be a friendly interview, and it turns into one of the most explosive moments in daytime television history? Today, we're breaking down the moment Valerie Bertinelli walked off the show after a heated clash with Joy Behar that left the entire studio in shock. Before we get into it, make sure you hit that subscribe button and drop a comment below telling me who you think was in the right here, because this one is going to divide opinions. The segment started innocently enough. Valerie Bertinelli was brought on to discuss her new cookbook and her journey over the past few years. The other hosts were warm and welcoming, asking about recipes and her creative process. But you could sense something was brewing the moment Joy Behar chimed in. There was this energy in the air, this tension that the cameras picked up on immediately. Joy started with what seemed like a compliment, saying, "Valerie, you've been so open about your personal life, your struggles, your divorce. It's been very public." But then she pivoted, and this is where things got interesting. She said, "But don't you think there's a line? Don't you think some things should stay private? I mean, every week there's a new headline about your ex or your feelings. At what point does it become, I don't know, a bit much?" You could see Valerie's expression change instantly. Her smile tightened. She took a breath and responded, "I think everyone processes things differently. Joy, for me, being open has been healing. It's helped me connect with people who are going through similar experiences. I'm not doing it for attention. I'm doing it because it's my truth." Joy wasn't backing down, though. She leaned forward and said, "But is it healing or is it profitable? Because let's be honest, every interview, every post, it keeps you in the headlines. It keeps you relevant, and there's nothing wrong with that. But let's call it what it is." The other hosts exchanged glances. You could feel the discomfort spreading across the table. Sun Oni host tried to jump in, saying, "Well, I think there's value in vulnerability, and Valerie has always been authentic." But Joy cut her off. She said authentic or calculated. There's a difference. Valerie put her hand up, a gesture that said, "Stop right there." She looked directly at Joy and said, "You know what, Joy? Expected you. I've watched this show for years, but what you're doing right now feels less like a question and more like an accusation. You're suggesting that my pain, my healing process is some kind of publicity stunt, and that's not fair." Joy shrugged. That classic Joy Behar shrugged that says she's not apologizing for anything. She said, "I'm just asking the questions that people at home are thinking. You put your life out there, Valerie. That opens you up to scrutiny. That's the deal." Valerie shook her head. "No, that's not the deal. The deal is that I share my story on my terms and people can take it or leave it. What I didn't sign up for is sitting here being told that my grief is a marketing strategy that crosses a line." Joy fired back immediately. "But you are marketing it. You're on book tours. You're on podcasts. You're on Instagram. Every platform you can find. You're talking about the same thing over and over. At some point, you have to ask yourself, am I healing or am I performing?" The audience was dead silent. This wasn't playful banter anymore. This was a full-on confrontation. Whoopi Goldberg, who had been quiet up until this point, tried to intervene. She said, "Okay, let's take a breath here. I think we're getting a little heated," but Valerie wasn't interested in taking a breath. She was locked in now. "Joy, have you ever been divorced? Have you ever had your marriage fall apart in front of millions of people? Have you ever had to rebuild your sense of self while the world watches and judges? Because if you haven't, then maybe you should think twice before you question how someone else copes with that kind of pain." Joy leaned back in her chair, arms crossed. "I've been married and divorced. Yes, and I didn't write a book about it every time. I dealt with it privately. That's my point. There are other ways to handle things." Valerie's voice got louder, more Forceful. Good for you, Joy. That worked for you, but it doesn't work for everyone. And the fact that you're sitting here shaming me for choosing a different path says a lot more about you than it does about me. That line landed hard. You could see Joy's face change. She wasn't smiling anymore. I'm not shaming you. I'm questioning. You? There's a difference. And if you can't handle being questioned, then maybe you shouldn't be putting everything out there. Valerie laughed, but it wasn't a happy laugh. It was the kind of laugh that comes right before someone says something they've been holding back. You know, it's interesting. Joy, you've built an entire career on saying whatever you want, being controversial, pushing buttons. But the second someone pushes back on you, suddenly it's a problem. Suddenly, they can't handle it. That's not fair, and you know it. Joy's tone shifted. She got more defensive. I push buttons to make people think. I challenge narratives. That's what I do. And right now, I'm challenging the narrative that you're some helpless victim who just happens to profit from sharing every detail of your personal life. Valerie stood up slightly, not fully, but enough that everyone noticed. I never claimed to be a victim, but I'm also not going to sit here and be attacked for being honest. You want to challenge narratives? Fine, but don't disguise cruelty as journalism. The tension was unbearable at this point. Sarah N. tried to lighten the mood, saying something about how passionate discussions are what make the show great, but nobody was buying it. This wasn't passion. This was conflict. Joy wasn't letting go. Cruelty. Oh, please. If this is cruelty, then you need thicker skin. Valerie, this is a talk show. We talk, we disagree. Asterisk. That's the format. You knew what you were walking into. Emily's eyes narrowed. She said, I knew I was walking into an interview. I didn't know I was walking into an ambush. There's a difference between asking tough questions and being disrespectful. And right now, you're being disrespectful. Joy threw her hands up in exasperation. So now I'm disrespectful because I'm not coddling you, because I'm not sitting here nodding along to everything you say. That's ridiculous. Valerie's voice dropped lower, more serious. You're disrespectful because you're dismissing my experience. You're reducing everything I've been through to a punchline or a cash grab, and I'm done with this conversation. Joy leaned forward, her expression hardening. Oh, you're done. Just like that. We're having a real conversation for once on this show, and you're done. That's convenient. Valerie didn't sit back down. She remained standing, her posture tense. A real conversation requires mutual respect. And you've made it clear you don't respect me or what I've been through. So yes, I'm done. Whoopi tried again to mediate. Valerie Joy has a way of asking questions that can feel pointed, but it comes from a place of curiosity, not malice. Maybe we can all just take a beat and reset here. But Valerie shook her head firmly. Whoopi, I appreciate you trying to smooth this over, but I know what malice sounds like, and I know what judgment sounds like, and I've heard both in the last few minutes. Joy scoffed audibly. Judgment. You came on national television to promote a book about your personal life, and you're upset that someone is asking you real questions about it. Do you hear yourself right now? Valerie's hands were shaking slightly, but her voice stayed strong. There's a difference between asking questions and making accusations. You didn't ask me why I chose to be open. You told me I'm doing it for money and relevance. You've already decided what my motivations are, and nothing I say is going to change your mind. Joy shot back. That's because your actions speak louder than your words. Valerie, you can talk about healing all you want, but the pattern is clear. Interview, headline, repeat. That's not healing. That's a media strategy. The other hosts looked uncomfortable. Sunany Hust spoke up, trying to redirect. I think what's important here is that everyone's healing journey looks different. Some people need privacy. Some people need community. Neither is wrong. Joy turned to Sunny with frustration. I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm saying let's be honest about what it is. Why is honesty suddenly controversial? Valerie interjected sharply, because your version of honesty is just cynicism dressed up as insight. You're not being honest, Joy. You're being mean. And you're hiding behind this idea that you're just asking tough questions, when really you're just tearing someone down because you can. The audience gasped. This was escalating fast, and no one knew how to stop it. Joy's face flushed. Mean? I mean now for not participating in the narrative that every other outlet is pushing. For actually challenging you instead of just throwing you softballs. That's my job. Valerie's voice rose. Your job is to have conversations, not interrogations. Your job is to interview guests, not prosecute them. And right now, you're treating me like I'm on trial for the crime of being open about my life. Joyce stood up now, matching Valerie's energy. If you can't handle criticism, then don't put yourself in the public eye. It's that simple. You want everyone to hear your story, but only if they respond exactly how you want them to. That's not how the world works. Valerie pointed at Joy, her frustration boiling over. Valerie's jaw dropped. You've been keeping track, be monitoring my social media to use against me. That's not journalism. Joy, that's obsession. Joy rolled her eyes dramatically. It's called being informed. It's called doing research. Before an interview. And yes, I notice the patterns because they're impossible to miss. You're everywhere all the time, and it's always the same story with slightly different words. Valerie took a step back from the table. I can't believe this. I came here thinking this would be a supportive space. I've watched this show. I've seen how you all talk about women supporting women, and now I'm sitting here being attacked by another woman for being vulnerable. The hypocrisy is unbelievable. Sunny tried once more to de-escalate. Valerie, I don't think anyone here is attacking you. I think this is just a disagreement about public versus private life, and those conversations can get heated. But Valerie cut her off. Sunny, with all due respect, this stopped being a disagreement the moment Joy accused me of faking my healing for profit. That's not a difference of opinion. That's character assassination. Joy threw her hands up. Character assassination. You're being so dramatic. I asked you some hard questions. I pushed back on the narrative you're selling. That's what happens. In real interviews, you want everyone to just nod and smile and tell you how brave you are. Go on a morning show that does puff pieces. This is The View. We have views. Valerie grabbed her microphone pack and started removing it. You know what, Joy? You're right about one thing. This is The View, and you definitely have a view, but your view is narrow, judgmental, and cruel. And I don't have to sit here and take it. The producers off camera were clearly panicking, but Valerie wasn't looking at them. She was focused entirely on Joy. Joy said, "So you're really going to walk off? You're going to prove my point by running away the second things get uncomfortable?" Valerie laughed bitterly. I'm not running away from discomfort. Joy, I've lived through more discomfort than you can imagine. I'm walking away from toxicity. There's a difference. Joy shot back. Toxicity because I didn't kiss your feet and tell you how inspiring you are. Because I treated you like an adult who can handle a real conversation? That's not toxic. That's refreshing. Valerie finished removing her microphone and set it on the table with a thud. You keep calling this a real conversation, but conversations go both ways. This has been a one-sided attack since the moment you opened your mouth. You're not interested in understanding me? You're interested in proving yourself right, and I'm not going to give you that satisfaction. Upi stood up, trying to physically block Valerie from leaving. Valerie, please, let's not end it like this. We can take a break, regroup, and come back with cooler heads. Valerie looked at Whoopi with genuine sadness. Whoopi, I respect you so much, but I can't stay here and pretend this is okay. Joy crossed a line, and the fact that no one stopped her tells me everything I need to know about what's acceptable on this show. Joy interjected loudly. Oh, here we go. Now it's everyone's fault. Now we're all complicit because we didn't shut down the big bad Joy Behar. Give me a break. Valerie turned back to Joy one final time. You want to know why I share my story? Joy, because people reach out to me every single day, telling me that it helped them feel less alone, that it gave them courage to leave bad situations, that it reminded them they're not broken. That's why I do it. Not for money, not for relevance. For connection? And if you can't understand that, then I truly feel sorry for you. Joy's face went red. You feel sorry for me. That's perfect. That's absolutely perfect. The woman who plasters her entire life on the internet feels sorry for me because I don't buy into the performance. I don't need your pity, Valerie, and I don't need you to explain basic human connection to me like I'm some kind of monster. Valerie stepped away from the table completely, moving toward the edge of the set. I never called you a monster, Joy, but you're being cruel, and you don't seem to care. That's what bothers me. You're smart enough to know the difference between challenging someone and hurting them, and you chose to hurt me anyway. Joy stood with her arms crossed, defiant. Oh, if you're hurt by someone questioning your choices, then maybe you need to examine why those questions bother you so much. Maybe there's some truth in what I'm saying that you don't want to face. Valerie stopped walking and turned back sharply. Or maybe, just maybe, Joy, your opinion isn't the universal truth you think it is. Maybe you're wrong. Has it ever occurred to you that you might actually be wrong about someone? Joy shook her head. I'm not wrong about patterns. I'm not wrong about what I've observed. You're a public figure who has made very specific choices about what to share and when to share it. I'm commenting on those choices. That's not wrong. That's called media literacy. Valerie's voice cracked slightly with emotion, media literacy. You're using media literacy as an excuse to question my integrity, to suggest that my pain isn't real. Do you know how that sounds? Sarah N. finally jumped in with more force. Okay, I think we need to acknowledge that both of you are coming from valid places here. Joy, you're asking questions that some viewers might have. Valerie, you're defending your right to process your life however you need to. Both things can be true, but Joy wasn't having it. Sarah, don't both sides this. I'm doing my job. Valerie is being oversensitive because she's not used to people pushing back. There's a clear difference here. Valerie's hands went to her hips. Oversensitive. There it is. The classic dismissal. Any woman who stands up for herself is over. Any woman who refuses to be talked down to is too emotional. I expected better from you, Joy. I really did. Joy's voice got louder. Don't you dare play the woman card with me. I've been fighting for women's rights longer than you've been in the public eye. I'm not dismissing you because you're a woman. I'm dismissing your argument because it doesn't hold up under scrutiny. Valerie shot back immediately. My argument is that I have the right to share my story without being accused of lying or manipulating people. If that doesn't hold up under your scrutiny, then your scrutiny is broken. Whoopi raised her voice, something she rarely does. Okay, everyone needs to stop right now. This has gone too far. We're all professionals here. We can disagree without it turning into this. Valerie looked at Whoopi with tears forming in her eyes. Whoopi, I appreciate what you're trying to do, but it's too late. The damage is done. Joy made it clear what she thinks of me. and I can't unknow that. I can't sit here and pretend we're all friends now, Joy muttered under her breath, but loud enough for the microphones to catch. We were never friends. That comment hung in the air like smoke. Valerie's face registered shock, then hurt, then resolve. She said, "You know what? You're right. We weren't, and we never will be. Goodbye, Joy. I hope whatever you got out of this was worth it." Joy called out as Valerie started walking off set. "What I got out of this was the truth, but you can dish it out on social media every day. But you can't take it when someone serves it back to you." Valerie paused at the edge of the set, or back to the table, without turning around. "The difference between what I do and what you just did is that I share my truth to help people. You used your platform to hurt someone, and everyone watching can see that difference clearly." With that, she walked off. The cameras caught her disappearing through the studio exit. The remaining host sat in stunned silence. Sunny looked like she wanted to cry. Sarah stared at her hands. Whoopi rubbed her temples. Joy broke the silence. "Well, that was quite a performance. I'm sure it'll get her plenty of headlines." Whoopi turned to Joy with an expression of disbelief. "Joy, come on. That was too far, and you know it." Joy bristled. "Too far? I asked legitimate questions. She couldn't handle them. That's on her, not me. I'm not going to apologize for doing what we do on this show every single day." Sunny spoke up, her voice shaking slightly. "What we do on this show is have passionate debates about issues. Joy, we don't personally attack guests. There's a line, and I think you crossed it." Joy's eyes flashed at Sunny. "Oh, so now you're all ganging up on me. Now I'm the villain because I didn't cuddle her. That's not fair," Sarah interjected. "Carefully. It's not about cuddling anyone. It's about how you approach the conversation. The questions you asked were fine. It's how you asked them and how you responded when she pushed back that became problematic." Joy stood up from the table. "You know what? If everyone thinks I'm the problem here, then maybe I should leave too. How about that?" Whoopi put her hand out. "Joy, sit down. Nobody's saying you need to leave. We're saying we need to talk about what just happened and how we handle things moving forward." Joy sat back down reluctantly, her arms still crossed. "Fine, but for the record, I stand by everything I said. Valerie Bertinelli puts her life on display, and she needs to accept that comes with commentary and criticism. That's the deal when you're famous." Whoopi sighed heavily. "But there's criticism, and then there's cruelty. Joy, and I think you know which one that was?" The camera caught a wide shot of the table. The empty chair where Valerie had been sitting served as a stark reminder of what had just transpired. The energy in the studio was heavy, uncomfortable,